good afternoon, good evening, according to your local time. PMP team is pleased to invite you to our session today with our brilliant presenter, the elementary trainer, former English teacher educator, coordinator at the British Council for the NTTP program, expert teacher and teacher trainer, TOT certified, Microsoft trainer, TESOL and TKT certified. And our session today will be about 3 activities for presenting time connectors. Mr. Mahmoud Abdel Ghaffar will help us today to make a good use of some grammar and vocabulary activities with practical examples using time connectors. Please pay attention and prepare your pen and a notebook. Now, let's start with Mr. Mahmoud.
Thank you, Ms. Randa, for your wonderful presentation. And I don't know what to say, but anyhow, let's start our session. Thank you so much.
Let's go.
And today's session, as Ms. Randa mentioned before, it's called Teaching Time Connectors. And I'm presenting 3 activities for teaching these time connectors inside the classroom. So first of all, I'm going to show you some codes. And can anyone tell me what do I mean by these codes? Just brainstorm and tell me what do I mean by these codes. Can anyone tell me? Do you have any idea about these codes? I have invented these codes, by the way, but I really want to know if you can guess what are these codes or not.
You can raise your hand if you know the answer.
Huh? No one?
Only Ms. Nusi, thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, here. So as I have asked it before, what does these codes mean? I show 2 sentences here. The first one, I studied hard. And the second one, I sat for the test. One is in yellow color and the second one in red. So if I ask you which action happened first, look at these 2 sentences and tell me which one happened first. And sure, you will say that I studied hard is the first action. So I studied hard is the first action. And if I asked you the same question, which action happened next? And sure, you will say, I sat for the test is the second action. So we have 2 actions, I studied hard, and then I sat for the test. So we have 2 actions that one happened first and the second came after that. So when we have 2 actions, one happened before the others, it's usually to put the first action in the past perfect. So when we have 2 actions, one happened before the other, the first action should be in the past perfect, which is had plus the past participle of the verb. So again, when we have 2 actions, one happened before the other, we put the first action in the past perfect. What is the past perfect? It's a had plus the past participle of the verb. And the second action should be in the past simple. What is the past simple? As we know, it is the verb plus d or ed or ied. These are regular verbs. And what about the irregular verbs like so, wrote, and swam? So these are irregular verbs. Again, so when we have 2 actions, one happened before the other, we put the first action in the past perfect, which is had plus the past participle of the verb. And the second action should be in the past simple, which is verb plus d or ed or ied. This is an ordinary rule that we know. So I studied hard should be I had studied hard, because this is the first action. And in the second action, it should be in the past simple, which is I sat for the test. Okay? Do you hear me? All of you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly, Mr. Mahmoud.
Okay, thank you. So these are two sentences. So instead of saying two sentences at one time, I studied hard and I sat for the test, we can join these two sentences to make them one sentence only. So we can use time connectors to join these two sentences. So for example, we can use after and as soon as at the beginning of the sentence to join them together. So, but after and as soon as are followed by the past perfect, had plus the past participle, and then the past simple, which is verb plus d or ed or ied. It's a normal rule. We know it. After as soon as are followed by had plus the past participle, and then past simple. So we keep it like this. But after and as soon as, the first action should be in the past perfect. Had plus the past participle is a verb. And the second action should be in the past simple. Past simple, which is verb plus d or ed or ied. So let's join the sentence, the two sentences together. We can say, after I had studied hard, I sat for the test. So we joined the two sentences using the word after or the connector after here. So after I had studied hard, I sat for the test. Or we can use as soon as. It is the same as after. So as soon as I had studied hard, I sat for the test. Is it clear? Does anyone or can anyone want to ask about anything here? Is everything clear?
You can go on. It's very clear. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you. We can convert this sentence and use after and as soon as in the middle of the sentence. So we will begin with the past simple, and then we will take the past perfect to the end of the sentence. So the sentence will be, I sat for the test after I had studied hard. I sat for the test after I had studied hard. Here, so after and as soon as are followed by the first action, which is had plus the past participle, and the second action is a past simple. So had plus the past participle is the first action. It takes number one. We give it number one. So the first action takes the number one. And the second action, which is the past simple, takes number two. It is the same rule for as soon as. As soon as is followed by the first action, which is had plus the past participle of the verb, which takes number one, and the past simple takes number two. So if you notice that after and as soon as begin with the letter A, so A is followed by the first action, which is number one, and then the second action, which is number two. So we invented the code, which is A12. Is it clear now, A12? So what does it mean? A, it means for after and as soon as. The first letter of after and as soon as. And one, it refers to the first action, which is had plus the past participle of the verb. And two, it refers to the second action, which is the past simple of the verb, the past simple. Is it clear? Is the code clear? Do you understand this idea here?
Would you please repeat it again for us all in order to be sure that we understand this?
Okay, so I mean that the two time connectors, which is after and as soon as, they both begin with the letter A. Okay, so we take letter A, and then after and as soon as are followed by the past perfect, which is had plus the past participle of the verb. The past perfect is number one because it is the first action. And then the past simple. The past simple is number two because it is the second action. So after, which it takes after A, it means after here, is followed by one and two. One and then two. One past perfect and two is a past simple. So we invented the code, which is A12. Is it clear for A12? What does A12 mean?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Mahmoud.
Good.
Does anybody want to
So
ask a question about this point?
Who? Mr. Muhammad?
I ask them if anybody wants to ask about this idea.
Yeah, A is a symbol, just a symbol, because A is the first letter of after, and it is the same letter of as soon as, and after. Both of them begin with letter A. Is it clear? So
Thank you so much.
yes, if we can join the two sentences using after, we can say after I had studied hard, I sat for the test. As soon as I had studied hard, and I sat for the test. So if we want to use after and as soon as in the middle of the sentence, so we should begin with the past simple. So, and I ask you, the past simple is the first action or the second action? The past simple is the second action. So we will begin with number 2 because it is second action, past simple. And then we use after and as soon as small letters because we use them in the middle of the sentence. And at the end of the sentence, we will use the past perfect, which is had plus the past participle of the verb. So we give the code 2A1. 2, it means past simple. A, it refers to after and as soon as. And 1, it refers to the past perfect, which is had plus the past participle of the verb. Is 2A1 clear? The code 2A1. Do you understand it? Do you have any problem with the code?
It's very clear, Mr. Mahmoud. Go on, please.
Good. Okay, so we can answer say, I sat for the test after I had studied hard. And I sat for the test as soon as I had studied hard. Okay. So we have the same sentence here. I say, I studied hard and I sat for the test. So if I ask you to use before and by the time, before and by the time. Before and by the time here, they are followed by the second action. We begin with the second action, which is past simple. And then, so the before and by the time are the opposite of after and as soon as. Before and by the time. So before we will begin with the second action, and then we will use the first action, which is had plus the past participle of the verb. So we can say, before I sat for the test, I had studied hard. So look at the rule of here, the rule here. So we can say before is followed by the past simple, and then had plus the past participle of the verb. Past simple, which is the second action, the past simple takes number 2. And had plus the past participle of the verb takes number 1. So before I sat for the test, I had studied hard. So, or you can put before and by the time in the middle of the sentence. So we can say, I had studied hard before I sat for the test. So if we go again to the same sentence here, before is followed by the second action, which is past simple. So before is followed by the second action, which is past simple. The past simple takes number 2. And then we put the first action at the end of the sentence, which is had plus the past participle of the verb. It is the same as by the time. By the time is followed by the second action, past simple, and then the first action, which is had plus the past participle of the verb. Okay. If you notice this, before and by the time, they both begin with letter B. Before begin with letter B, and by the time it begins with letter B. So before and by the time is followed by the past simple. The past simple is the second action, so we put number 2 here. And the past perfect is the second, the first action, which comes at the end of the sentence, take number 1. So B21. So B21 again. So how we formed this code? So B, it refers to before and by the time. 2 is a past simple, the second action, and 1 is the first action, which is had plus the past participle of the verb. So we took the code B21. B21, before, past simple, past perfect. Before, past simple, and past perfect. So here we can say, before I sat for the test, I had studied hard. Before I sat for the test, sat is the second action, number 2. I had studied hard. This is the first action, is number 1. Either B21. So if we use before in the middle of the sentence here, and by the time in the middle of the sentence, by the time it is the same sentence. By the time I had studied hard. No, this is a mistake. I'm sorry for this. By the time I sat for the test, I had studied hard. Sorry for this. So 1B2, if we put before in the middle of the sentence, so we will begin with had plus the past participle of the verb or past perfect. So 1B2, 1, it refers to the past perfect. Had plus the past participle of the verb. B, it refers to before and by the time. 2, it refers to the past simple. So if we join the two sentences, it will be I had studied hard before I sat for the test. So 1B2. Again, 1B2. So before, when we put before at the beginning of the sentence, it will be B21. And in the middle of the sentence, it will be 1B2. Is it clear, or I explain it again? Is it clear? Is this slide clear?
It's very clear and a very good point. Thank you, Mr. Mahmoud. You are amazing, and I appreciate this codes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This is by the time in the middle of the sentence, I had studied hard by the time I sat for the test. Good. The same sentences here, I studied hard and then I sat for the test. So if I ask you to join these two sentences using when as a connector, as a time connector here. So when is the easiest one, because it can be followed by had plus the past participle and then past simple. Well, this is one rule. So when can be followed by past perfect, had plus the past participle is a verb, and then past simple, which is the verb plus d or ed or ied, the second action. So when is followed by one اللي هي had plus the past participle is a verb. 2 is the past simple, which is a verb plus d or ed or ied. So we can join these two sentences together when had plus the past participle, and then it is followed by the past simple. So when I had studied hard, I sat for the test. When I had studied hard, I sat for the test. So, or we can put when in the middle of the sentence. It will be I sat for the test when I had studied hard. So let's explain it. Okay. When here, does anyone want me to explain what the code, or someone is writing in the chat box? Do you want any help? Okay. When is followed by the first action, which is had plus the past participle, and then the past simple, which is the second action. Okay. So we take the rule, or the code, I'm sorry, we take the code, which is W12. W, it refers to when. Okay. And one is had plus the past participle is a verb. Good. You guessed the code. Yes. And 2 is the second action, which is past simple. Okay. Okay, very good. So when I had studied hard, I sat for the test. Very good. Thank you. Okay. So if we put when in the middle of the sentence, it will be 2W1. 2, which is the past simple. W is when, and 1 is the past perfect, which is had plus the past participle is a verb. Okay. So the sentence will be I sat for the test when I had studied hard. Is it clear? Is this rule clear? The codes W12 and the 2W1. Is it clear? So you can keep it.
Amazing, Mr. Mahmoud. Really amazing.
in two ways. Either you tell them that when is followed by past perfect and then past simple, and they will forget it. Yes, but if you just connect the code with the rule, you can say when is followed by had plus the past participle and then past simple. Or you can keep it like W12, W, it means when. 1, it means the head plus the past participle is a verb. 2, it is a past simple. So if you put it in the middle of the sentence, you can take 2 to the beginning of the sentence and then W, and you can take the past simple, the past perfect to the end of the sentence. It will be 2W1. Okay? Okay. Also, when can be followed by the past simple, which is number 2, which is the second action, and then comes after it, the first action comes at the end of the sentence, which is had plus the past participle of the verb. Okay, so before I show you the code of this rule, can anyone tell me in the chat box what the code will be? Can anyone write the code? Yeah, W. Great. W21. Very good. Thank you. So the code will be W21. 21, 2 is the second action and 1 is the first action. 2 is the past simple and 1 is had plus the past participle of the verb. So the rule will be, so when we said for the test, when I said for the test, I had studied hard. Or we can put when in the middle of the sentence. So it will be 1 W2, 1 past perfect, had plus the past participle, and then the past simple comes at the end of the sentence. So I had studied hard when I sat for the test. Very good, Miss Mona. Thank you. So these are 2 codes here. Okay, we have reached this slide here, and I'm asking you to guess the code. We begin the sentence with past simple negative, and then we use the word until, and at the end of the sentence we use past perfect, which is had plus the past participle of the verb. So for this rule, can anyone guess the code before I mention it, or I say it, or show it on the slide? Can anyone say the code, how it will be? Yeah, show me your imagination here. Mr. Mohammed, my cam is not clear. Can you see, please, it or no? N for not, N for negative, maybe. Miss Malaka? Okay. So can anyone guess what the code will be? Mona Said said to everyone, 1 negative and 2. 1 negative. So past simple is not 1. Past simple is 2. Past simple takes number 2, not number 1. The past perfect had plus the past participle, the verb takes number 1. So can anyone guess the code, what it will be? Anyhow, okay, 2, not, and then you, and 1. 2, which is the past simple negative. Not, it means negative. Or you can say it, or you can write it as NAG. It's the abbreviation for negative, okay? And then you here, it refers to until. And 1, it refers to the past perfect, which is had, plus the past participle of the verb. Is it clear?
Very clear, Mr. Mahmoud. Super.
Yes, good, very good. So we can join these 2 sentences as this. We can say, I didn't sit for the test until I had studied hard. So I didn't sit, this is past simple negative, 2 not, 2 negative, okay? And you is until, And one is the past perfect, which is had plus the past participle of the verb. Okay? Okay. Now, here, the most important part, so is how can we present this inside the classroom? So I have mentioned the codes, I have explained the grammar rules to everyone in the class, but how can I present these codes and these grammar rules in a funny way inside the classroom? Let's start. Are you ready? The three activities, as I've mentioned before, I have got three activities to present the time connectors inside the classroom. Okay, number one is called swap. Do you know what I mean by swap? Can anyone tell me what is the word swap mean? Huh? Can anyone tell me? Put your hands up if you don't know what is a swap. If you know the word swap, sorry for this. Okay, let's start. So you ask three students to come in front of the classroom. Okay. So three students here. The first student will take the first card, a big card with part of the sentence. And the second student will hold the second card. And the third student will hold a third card. Okay, so the three students will hold the three cards, three different cards. Okay, the first one will hold after, and the second one hold the card which has I had cooked, and the third one will hold the card which is we ate. So I cooked, we ate. So if I ask you, so which action happened first? You will say we cook first. So cooking or had cooked is the first action, and we ate is the second action. Okay, so the first student will hold after, the second one will have had cooked, and the third one will have we ate. Okay, and then you show them the code or you show them the rule, and so you can ask your students, can you arrange your places or swap your places in order to form a correct sentence using the word after? So everyone will come. So we ate, for example, here will come here, because you are asking your students to put after in the middle of the sentence. We ate here, it will be the number three, the student number three will come to the first place and he say, we ate. And then the student who is holding the word after will come to the middle of the sentence, in the middle, and show after. So we ate after. And the second student will come to the end of the place or the last place and holding the card which is we had cooked. So we ate after we had cooked. Okay, is it clear? Is the activity clear? Is it clear? So it will seem to some extent difficult for you to practice, but if you make a rehearsal at the beginning of the exercise, it will be easier. And you try the same way with the whole time connectors after, as soon as, before, by the time, when, and even until. So this is a way to present the time connectors inside the classroom. Is this activity clear? Is it clear for you? Put your hands up if it's clear. Is it clear? Okay, thank you, Ms. Mona. So the second activity is called pick a friend. Pick a friend. How can we say this, or can we practice this? You will ask one student to come in front of your students, and the students will show a big card, a big piece of paper a chart, and on the chart you are writing after I had gone to the beach, and you put a space, because the student will hold the card and ask the whole of the classroom. So after I had gone to the beach, someone will put his hand up and say, I swam. Okay, so the one who answered and put his hands up and answered, after I had gone to the beach, I swam. So you ask the student who is holding the card to go to him and to give him the same card. And you say, choose anyone inside the classroom and ask him the same question. So he will take the card and he will choose a friend, and he will ask him, after I had gone to the beach, the second one will choose a different sentence now. So after I had gone to the beach, I sat under the umbrella, for example. So every time you pick a friend, a new friend, you are presenting a new sentence to the class. So your students will keep inventing sentences till they are accustomed to do the time connector, which is after and as soon and so on. So here, as I have explained it, but I will read it hard for you here. Ask a student to stand up, hold this card, and say it aloud. Then he picks anyone in the classroom to complete and invent the other part of the sentence. So when the other student say the whole sentence, he takes the turn and they say the first part, but this time he chooses a new friend and so on. Is this activity clear? Is it clear? Yeah, very good. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Let's move to the last activity, which is classification. So when I was presenting the vocabulary, if you attended my previous session here and concerning presenting vocabulary, I have mentioned the classification. So, but how can we classify after and as soon as time connectors inside the classroom? Is it easy? Yes, it's very easy. So the teacher prepares as many cards as he could. So every 3 cards make a sentence. You prepare many cards, but every 3 cards make a sentence using one of the connectors we discussed before. For example, on your table, the teacher prepares many cards. So for example, after, and then I entered, and then I had so and so and so. So he prepares many sentences and many parts of the sentences. So he, for example, the student will come to the table and he found, for example, the word as soon as. He will pick as soon as. And then he looks again and he saw had taken the tickets. So he found another part which is written, I had taken the tickets. So he has 2 cards now. One of them is as soon as, and the second is I had taken the tickets. So he keeps searching and he keeps looking inside the cards, and he will find that he is I saw the film. So now the sentence is completed now. So he is a winner, as you said. So as soon as I had taken the tickets, I saw the film. Is this activity clear? Put your hands up if this activity clear.
Yeah, here Mr. Hani Farouk wants to speak.
It's okay, go on.
Mr. Hani, please unmute yourself and start your question.
Yes, it's clear.
Yeah, hello.
Hello, yeah, it's clear.
Thank you.
No, it's clear.
Thank you.
I think it's like cut and paste.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.
It's okay. Thank you very much for listening to me today. And I have presented all the time connectors and the 3 activities. So I will record. I have already recorded all this session, and I will show my session on my YouTube channel. Thank you for your listening, and I wish that you benefited today from all the time connectors. And I'm ready to use it inside the classroom, and you are ready to use it inside the classroom. Thank you very much. See you again one day, inshallah.
Thank you, Mr. Mahmoud, and please do not forget to fill in the form in order to get your certificates and join us on the WhatsApp group. Thank you again, Mr. Mahmoud, and thank you, Ms. Randa, for your great participation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.